All right, hey everybody, Jason Wright with another episode of ThreatWise TV, and today we're talking about a new offering that is called the Cisco Secure Cloud Insights. And I've brought in a couple of friends, Rajat Giladi and Crystal Storer, to help us talk about this a little bit and give us the intro. Guys, thanks for joining us so much. I appreciate it. Crystal, tell me a little bit about exactly what it is we're launching. I know we've got this new offering and platform that kind of reaches out and helps map our cloud presence and helps out with asset inventory and compliance and relationships and things like that. So tell us a little bit about what we've got and what we're offering and what kind of problems we're trying to solve out there for our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having us, Jason. We're really excited about this new offering that we've brought to market, Cisco Secure Cloud Insights. So really, as we talk to customers, especially in security operations, they've been struggling with some of the most basic hygiene outcomes, especially as they start to work with development teams that are working in the public cloud and with cloud native technologies, trying to understand their cyber universe and how that sprawl has really gone wild over the past couple of years. We've heard loud and clear that our customers need a capability that's sort of in the market of cloud security posture management. But we really wanted to go well beyond kind of those basic compliance outcomes. And so Cisco Secure Cloud Insights not only helps our customers with, compliance and best practices and assuring that their cloud native resources, whether they're in the public cloud or on premise, that they're complying with internal policy, but also help support those investigation and incident response workflows that they need and helping them really lock down and understand their cyber universe.
Yeah, certainly these days it's not an enviable job to have to be able to run all these things, let alone have the security wherewithal to understand what is on your network, what's out there, and how this is moving back and forth. And so having some automation to kind of footprint what they've got out there sounds like it would be a major challenge and something that we could probably help with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about this. I know that I was reading through some of the things when we talk about asset inventory, we talk about relationship mapping, and you talked about compliance a lot. So is that kind of the 1, 2, 3 that we're offering here? Or what's unique to what we're bringing to the market out there for our customers?
So what I would say is really unique about this platform really is the underlying architecture and the data model and the relationships that it puts in place between all of these disparate entities. And so while many tools you can use go out there, whether they're open source or native from the cloud providers, they can tell you if resources are configured properly, right? It's kind of a yes, no check. You can run compliance reports from a lot of different tools. But really what sets this platform apart is being able to understand not just what is this resource compliant with my policy, but what is it and does it matter? And so understanding the relationships that all of these entities that our security teams are tasked to protect, understanding the relationships and the so what behind it is what really sets this one apart.
Excellent. Well, I know we've got a demo lined up, so let's pull up the interface and take a look. Rajat, I'd love to see us show us how these things work and where we would start and how we can bring that benefit to our customers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jason. And I think, Crystal, you hit the nail on the head when you said that really this is cloud security posture management, but so much more. So before I start, let me just draw your attention to the fact that this is a service that we have brought to market in collaboration with our technology partner, JupiterOne. We're hosting it in the Cisco Cloud. And really what we're doing is we're allowing customers to inventory their assets in their entire cyber universe or digital footprint, as it were. Now, what is an asset? To me, an asset is anything that a security program or a security practitioner may want to track from a perspective of understanding their vulnerabilities, their gaps, and their security posture. So maybe something as tangible as a container or a cluster or a device, or something as intangible as maybe an access key or an access policy, or maybe even a group or something like a log. So anything that would require some sort of security oversight is something that what an asset is. So in this particular instance, you see we have about 130,000 assets that have been pulled in to the database through integrations. Now, these integrations are entirely API driven. They're completely agentless. You don't need to download a single byte of data. You basically enable API read-only access to about 60 predefined integrations. You'll see all the big cloud providers, AWS, Azure, as well as Google Cloud Platform. They're all available here. But then you have a number of other integrations that you might recognize. Cisco AMP, right, for endpoint security, Cisco Meraki for networking devices, Cloudflare, CrowdStrike, Carbon Black. You have Detectify. You have identity providers like Duo, or for that matter, Okta, or even Microsoft 365 for Microsoft AD. You also have vulnerability providers like Qualys or Rapid7. So basically what you're doing is you're pulling in all of this information regularly by polling these data sources at regular intervals, which you can define from 30 minutes to about a week. And what that really helps you do is to get a very good idea of your compliance and your tracking against benchmarks, standards that are either industry standards or something that you may have defined for yourself. So in the service itself, you have about 20 plus predefined standards. A lot of you will recognize these. For example, you have the Internet Security Standards for AWS, Azure, and GCP. You have the CIS controls, but then you have industry-specific standards. So for example, the HIPAA standards for the healthcare industry. If you're in the payment card industry, you'll probably want to comply with PSI DSS. You have the NIST standards, and you also have the SOC, security, availability, and confidentiality standards. So there are about 20 plus predefined standards that you can track your compliance against, or you can actually provide your own configuration. And so what this really allows you to do is to get a good check of where you are against everything that you care about, right? You see in this particular instance, we only have 13% compliance against about 20 standards that we're tracking ourselves against. If we scroll down, we'll see that we've enabled, the AWS Foundation standards for internet security. And I can double click on this and very easily get to all of the gaps that are available, or identified in the infrastructure that I'm monitoring. So just as an example, let me click on this particular gap, right? This gap is that we must ensure that guest users are reviewed on a monthly basis, right? Clicking on this gap will actually show you that you do have certain users that are not having their access reviewed on a monthly basis. And you can very quickly get to a list of users that are errant or that are not complying with the standards that you want to follow. Now, we actually come to the important part, which is a relationship mapping. You can quite easily go and visualize this particular vulnerability through a capability called graph. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually build out for you the universe that this particular vulnerability sits in. And so not only do you understand what the vulnerability is, but you can quite easily understand the impact of this vulnerability on your entire environment. So in this particular case, you saw we started off with James Oliver having this vulnerability through a particular access role that was assigned to him. What we can quite easily do then is dynamically build out the so what. What else is available through this access role? And see that he has an Azure subscription that may have a bunch of other resources attached to it. So very quickly, you see what we've done is we've been able to build out not only the what, that is James Oliver is not in compliance, but through that non-compliance, we're able to get to all of the other assets and resources in your environment that could possibly be vulnerable. And you can quite easily establish the blast radius and you can investigate what's actually happening in your network. Does that make sense?
This is great, man. I've seen several different capabilities and aspects here. First of all, when you're doing the asset inventory, I love the fact that we've got support for other security technologies, even outside of Cisco. We love customers to be using our technologies, but there are other security players out there. And so I love seeing that we're being in support of those as well. So they're not just locked into us. And then into the compliance and the reporting, gave you that whole list of frameworks to check yourself against. And then by vertical, you could start to pick and choose what's important to you. And then finally, with the relationship mapping, you're able to really see where these gaps are and then start to make the changes and repair and be able to holistically define all of these relationships from all these different assets. So that is a huge amount of information and workflow that is probably going to save so much time and energy and be able to get people right up to say, yes, here's my compliance checklist, and here are the things that we've done to become in compliant, right? So this is great from a compliance perspective. Are there any other queries or capabilities that this system can answer back for us?
Absolutely. So getting back, Jason, to the landing screen where we saw that we had a kind of Google-like query capability, I can start off by pretty much putting what's on top of my mind. So let me ask a question that a lot of cloud architect and security practitioners are worried about, which is public access, right? And you see what I just did there. I simply typed the name public, and it showed me from a list of, about 600 odd predefined queries, what I might be looking for. So I'm interested in probably trying to find out if I have any storage buckets that themselves are not exposed to the internet, but through some other hops and relationships, they may actually be exposed to the internet. So I just asked this question of the database thing, are there any public facing instances that are allowing access to non-public S3 buckets? And you immediately see that it has popped up this particular visual for me. I'm going to just walk you through this visual. So you have a storage bucket right here, right? It's an S3 bucket. It's a storage bucket in AWS. And we can see through a number of hops, it's actually able to reach the internet. Now, the power of actually seeing this, rather than simply looking at your S3 bucket and saying that it is not accessible to the internet, is really, really very good, because you can very easily see where the misconfigurations exist. You can walk back and say this S3 bucket has a particular policy which has a role that can be assumed by a compute instance that through a firewall, you can actually see the firewall rules, is able to reach the internet. And so it would be very hard for customers to get this level of insight without this level of mapping that you can see that Secure Cloud Insights supports.
All right, guys, so this is really great. I love the amount of information that we're posing here. Keep our customers off of the front page of the headlines by showing them some of these vulnerabilities in policy, basically is what that sounds like, and getting them compliant as fast as possible. So if customers want to learn a little bit more about this, where can we send them to?
Yeah, we've got a ton more information available online. We also have a free trial available for anybody that wants to give it a whirl. So please visit our website, cisco.com. Go Secure Cloud Insights.
All right, excellent. And of course, if you want to check out other ThreatWise TV episodes, always cisco.com/go/ThreatWise. We'll take you through some of the other technologies that we have and all the new announcements that we've made recently. But for now, I've been Jason Wright, and thank you so much, Crystal and Rajat. We'll catch you on the next episode of ThreatWise TV.